the T because she wanted the Chiefs too. The T lady, Mama T.
Oh yeah, Mama T. Yeah.
Yeah, Mama T is Chief too. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to all the matriarchs on the land. We brought Chief in. I'm gonna open it up because this is something I gotta ask you though, Rod. Because they saying that Rod Hayes is a feminist. Rod Hayes is a mama's boy. He always take it up for the women. And I say, them dudes there, you know, I had my own thought in my head when they were saying it. Like they must don't, he must don't love his mama or something. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but what do you say to those guys that says Rod Hayes is a feminist? Rod Hayes is a mama's boy, right? The guy says complaining about that.
Out the gate, I'm a mama's boy. I'm my mama right hand man. Coming to bump you sucker straight. Coming from the North Gate. King Kong and this, they ain't got nothing on me. Right? So, look, the thing is this. Earth is a feminine planet. The proper structure and order that keeps the human both functional, spiritually, socially, and mentally comes from the nurturing of the feminine. The natural order of the clans, the patriarchal, matriarchal orders. The patriarchal order is supposed to only be instituted in a time of war because the men are supposed to defend and protect the women and the children. There's concentric circles. The smaller they is, the closer to the center of the circle they is in protection. The newborns with the toddlers, you surround the toddlers with the adolescents, you surround the adolescents with the teens, and then you align all of the children around about by the mothers, and the fathers protect the circle. Right? When we talk about a chief, it's an exonym first and foremost because the name for tribal leader differed across tribes. So we didn't always call ourselves chief. Chief has become the term that the colonizer recognized as the leader of the clans, the tribal families that ran the land. Understanding that chiefs, you just don't be handed the title of chief. It's through birthright, right? You're born with the potential, but it don't mean you will ever reach the status of the chief. The order comes from your family first. So the female chief is the glue, learning from the matriarch, Big Mama, how to keep the family together. She's responsible for following the instructions of Big Mama to have a system in play so when Big Mama move on to the other side, she can step up and become the next Big Mama. So the way it's easiest explained, most loved, most respected, right? Like you have people in the family that everybody in the family love, even the ones that don't get along with each other love that family member. They are giving them the nod. You might have some rotten people in the family and some good people in the family, but this particular one, they all get along with them. They all giving them the family's approval that this is the good one right here. The good ones and the bad ones. This is how you start being considered for chief in the community. From your family's recognition of your position. Right? And then the training is incorporated based on the structure of what's taking place at the time. We will always train somebody to come up and be the next to take charge. Because the matriarchy, even when patriarchy was ruling in wartime, the matriarchy had a right to pull the plug on it. So it goes to who's going to benefit the most. If it's going to benefit 5 people versus 1 million, then the 5 people going to have to suffer. because we rather tend to the many than to be controlled by the few. Right. So when we talk about feminism, feminism is the flip side of the war coin of patriarchy to prolong the war and keep the patriarchs in control. Most of the early feminists was cross-dressers pretending to be women, talking about women's rights, but they was really making a reference to what we call today LGBTQ elemental P rights. Right? But they was getting the women on board with them because the women thought they was talking about natural born women with uteruses. They didn't know that eventually they was going to try to turn the males into women by giving them surgery. Right? That eventually became what feminism turned into. Where now you got to recognize somebody who was born male as a woman. But it's to break families up. It's one of the many tools used to destroy the family structure. Because if the man is the man and the woman is the woman, there's no confusion about how we gonna run the house. Right? But when the woman want to be the man in the house and the man want to be the man in the house, it causes conflict. Right? Order is required in order to smooth your path out. Disorder is the order that makes your path rocky. So the more that you can even appear to be in order to other people, more people gravitate towards you because they see the structure, the controlled environment that gives them the ability to learn the self-control required in order to take charge of their own affairs. Right? And most of this is learned by the women teaching the children. What happens is the parents are being weaponized by the system, and they being used to fight over children. We didn't have family court. The women in both sides of the child's family determine the parenting time for the child and which parent is going to have primary custody.
Right.
Right. It wasn't the responsibility of the state. Now, the other side of the feminine march to power is to remember that all the land is passed through natural linear line as well as the wealth.
That's right.
And this is how we know everywhere we see a man's name on a deed, we know it was a usurpation taking place.
Right.
Because under our tribal orders from way back, you can Google, we don't sell land. Native chief tells America we don't sell land, and several different chiefs already told them we can't sell you the land.
Right.
You can come over here, you can set up shop, you can do business, but we can't sell you the land. But we never sold the land.
Right.
And this is why we had so much heirs land at the turn of the century. But what we're looking at now is we remembering who we are and our roles and responsibilities. In the matriarchy, whether you think it's a feminist agenda or not, the matriarchy is the structure of the tribes. The women are normally the leader of the tribe. And the chief is the one who is doing a particular work. You become the leader according to your specialty. In your family, you might be your financial chief. The one everybody come to figure out how to manage their money correctly. They need you to teach them. Right? You by default, you become the financial chief of the family.
Right.
You got a political chief. You follow all of the politics. You know the current events. You see what's going on in the world, and you explaining it to the family, right? In the oral tradition, in order for the family to know, well, this is what we need to do next. But you can't make no adjustment for what you don't know of.
Right.
Right? You got a different chief, the leader. I'm going to switch up to the word leader because it's easier for regular people to understand. Who's ever most capable to lead under the pursuit or the agenda that you're working on, mm-hmm. That person is the chief. They in charge now. Everybody else support them. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're working on the financial aspect, your financial chief needs whole family support in order to be effective. And this is how you moving up in the ranking system. Mm-hmm. The more skilled you become, then your tribe can allow other tribes to come and consult with you. They send their financial leadership to you in order for y'all to go over financial understanding of what's taking place so y'all know what investments to make. Mm-hmm. They tore all this down when they instituted the central banking cartel, when they introduced the political system of the Constitution. They destroyed our tribal structure. Mm. We used to automatically know that the person in the family that is the most spiritual is the priest of the family, and that's who we went to for priestly advice. Mm-hmm. Right? We used to know the psychic in the family, so if we wanted an oracle read, we knew which one of the uncles or aunties to go talk to. That's right. Right? But when they broke the families up, these are the exact people that they was trying to kill. While your lynchings, they didn't lynch people haphazardly, contrary to popular opinion. They was doing, those lynchings was getting rid of leadership. Mm. And we had, everybody was qualified to be a leader in their aspect, and levels down from knowledge of self to total ignorance. And you can only do that by systematically wiping out the leadership, which is shown in COINTELPRO.
And the bloody oath secrecy of take out for our leaders. Yeah. Hey, Rod, that brings me to my next question. Now we see somebody asked a question about when did that matriarch start. Do you think that the Thomas Rolfe thing with the Pocahontas thing, we know we talked about it, you said it was because her name means playful one, and you dropped some on that, and but some people are saying that the Thomas Rolfe 16, it was 1620s. That's when they started, and then you read something the other day about around that same time, 1620 is when they started trying to switch over to a patriarch and men selling land. But before the early 1600s, it wasn't no man no owning no land. You know what I'm saying? Could you go in
under the table? Look, under go back to, so this is a reference book and it's a website. It's called the Hadassa Treaty, mm-hmm. which is actually the treaty of the Cherokee Confederacy. Mm-hmm. Right? It's also known as the Treaty of the Longhouse. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. When you read the treaty, you are seeing the rollout of how the government structure of the tribe was laid out. Mm-hmm.
Man, clan.
Right. And then when all of the tribes met all of the standards, they joined the Confederacy. That's how you join the Confederacy. But back then, we used to have the Constitution memorized. Right. And we used to be able to recite it section for section, and that's how you knew your rank. The one that can recite the whole thing like a Hafiz remember in the Quran was the one who was studying the longest. Normally, sometimes you had children that outshined the elders. They called them boy kings or boy chiefs, right? Or girl chiefs. They was children chiefs. because they understood what the Constitution said and they knew how to interpret it and tell you what it means at an early age. And that just shows.
The Secure lady, I just put a tape out on her because she tie in with this. She was a lady chief. And then if you look at how they was doing her, but the before we go into her, could you go in because the welfare? I noticed the welfare and the WIC that they put the sisters on, and they put them on housing and things, and they can't have the brother around, or else they'll take this government assistance.
Yeah.
Could you go in on how government assistance? Do you think that was a strategy used to hold us back? All the government assistance, like the welfare, etc.
Well, you know what originally created for us. Welfare was started by Roosevelt, and the catalyst to make them institute the welfare system was a bunch of European women that didn't have any life skills, losing their husbands in war. So the remedy is the government, because you lost your husband in war, has to create a program to subsidize your lifestyle, your income, so that you can be able to feed and house and clothe your children, which is a borrowing from the tribal system, the law of the land, which is everybody should have access to food, clothing, and shelter. But they used the principle, but they perverted it. And over time, after they did in 1925, after they did the rat experiment, they wanted to try it on humans. They started building projects in 1940s. Right? The purpose of the projects was to determine if giving us harsh living conditions and lack of access to clean water and good food, we start killing each other, like the rats did in the experiment. And lo and behold, exactly what happened in the microcosm happened in the macrocosm, because nature is nature.
Yeah, that's real slick, man. Like it's like a lot of stuff we ain't see it coming. Like this, they were nonstop in the lab or in their think tank working on ways to stop us or keep us down or hold us back or tear us apart. And we ain't that we not even thinking. Well, it was some people saying, oh, that's what they doing, right? But when they find them, they take them out, right? Now they was looking for Messiah, the COINTELPRO say, right? So was there any besides? I know you're gonna talk about the Secure lady. Was there any women messiahs they were looking into to try to say, well, we got to stop this lady? I know a Secure lady was one of them. You go in on her too.
Before Assata, before the Panthers, there was Lucy Parsons. Remember, we went over her in the class one time. She was the most feared woman by the FBI. She was on the FBI watch list. You get they got COINTEL papers on Fannie Lou Hamer. Right? And they also got COINTELPRO papers on Betty Shabazz and Claire Muhammad. So they wasn't only looking at the men, but they knew that if a valuable woman was there, the men would fight to the death to defend that. So they wanted to get the leader of the men so that the troops had no organization, structure, and no direction in which to move. That's what made the nation so hard for them to penetrate.
The women. So and I always know that Doc said that's why he kept a whole bunch of women around him, because women don't think like the man. Like they don't get jealous. A woman ain't gonna get jealous of a man. Well, another man that get jealous of a man. So especially if you know if a man's a chief, say the man chief, and then the other man want to be in this position, but the other women chief around him, they ain't gonna be concerned about taking that man chief position because they got their own position, they got their own role. So should you go ahead on that a little bit? Go ahead.
The jealousy is a learned behavior, first of all, artificially induced psychosis, a form of schizophrenia. It used to be in the DSM-V as something called dementia praecox. It's not natural to be jealous, right? But what's natural, and this is what make men clash at the top, is natural for a person with royal blood to seek the most prominent royal position. In the military structure, when we fighting war, it's natural for a general to try to take the lead in war. And sometimes the general that's leading the war, if you don't agree with his war philosophy, he would try to overthrow him or oust him because he believes he can be more effective in war. This is an idea that's exploited in studying warfare. This is why you study the leadership of warfare and the fall of the leaders before you, because then you get to see the power dynamic from an unbiased